Everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today as we celebrate Stop Food Waste Day with a webinar hosted by BetterTable.ca. My name is Ailey Carson. I'm the Communications and Member Services Coordinator at Key Global. We are a sustainability certification program for North America's hotel and lodging industry. Today's presentation is Food Waste, How to Control Food Costs and Improve Food Sustainability Practices at Your Hotel. But before we get started on that, I just want to go over a little bit of housekeeping. Your participation is encouraged throughout the session. At any time during today's webinar, please use the Q&A function to ask your questions. Please use the thumbs up icon to upvote questions in the queue, which will help us get to your question more quickly. And as a heads up, we will be recording today's session and it will be available on demand on the Key Global website and on YouTube. With today being International Stop Food Waste Day, we wanted to use this webinar to draw attention to the food waste challenge, discuss trends in food sustainability and food control cost, and finally, share practical solutions and resources hoteliers can use to minimize food waste. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, Ben Liege, founder and CEO at BetterTable.ca, a Vancouver-based company that empowers Key Global members with training, food audits, and programs to control food costs and increase profitability. Thank you so much for being here today, Ben, and I really look forward to learning more about reducing food waste in hotels.
Here's what we have on the menu. So as an appetizer, I will share why today is Stop Food Waste Day and what it means. Then your main will be 7 food sustainability trends in the hospitality industry, followed by your dessert, how to achieve a triple bottom line with food waste prevention. And last but not least, I will share some helpful resources. So enjoy, bon appetit. So as Ailey mentioned earlier, so I'm the founder and CEO at BetterTable.ca. And so we really empower Green Key certified hotels with training, food waste audits and programs so that you can control food costs and increase profitability. So let's dive into like what is Stop Food Waste Day. So centuries ago, before Europeans migrated and settled in the land occupied by First Nation, food waste was an unknown concept. And First Nation people who primarily hunted and gathered for their meals, they were really well known to use every single part of a slaughtered animal, for example. And settlers moving to what is now Canada and North America were faced with scarce resources and really harsh conditions. So they had to adopt many similar practices to eliminate food waste. And then the modern concept of food waste as we know it today was created in the industrialization boom before World War I. And suddenly food and goods that would have been challenging and expensive to obtain were being produced with like such alarming speed that they lost their precious value. And so industrialization made it easier for people to accept waste because they knew that it would be more available the next day at an affordable price. But today, food waste is a huge problem. And for example, if we look at Canada, in Canada, it's 58% of the food produced that goes to waste. And in the hotel industry, we also experience the same. And of course, I'm sure you've experienced increasing food prices during the pandemic, and find it challenging to control food costs. And many of our clients usually have to increase their menu prices as a last resort to stay profitable. And some of the price hikes that we've experienced is around like 25% sometimes. So it can really be very impactful on how much you are charging your guests for the food experiences you're delivering. And according to Booking.com, 82% of travelers want to travel sustainably. And this is also reflected, of course, in the choice made to dine out. And more guests are searching in different apps for eco-friendly restaurant and dining experiences. So that's also a great way to increase revenues from your food and beverage operation, especially when like Like, sometimes you need to have more events to be more profitable in a hotel food and beverage operation. But this is really a way to drive sales as well. At the same time, like food waste has a huge impact on climate. Like if food waste were a country, it would be the third largest greenhouse gas emitter after China and the US. And according to the UN, the United Nations, food waste accounts for like 8 to 10% of total CO2 emission. The carbon footprint of food waste is 4 times the carbon footprint of the aviation industry. Think about it for a second. So avoidable food waste, it's worth a lot of money across the whole food supply chain. But how much did it cost in Canada, for example? So you will have to find out. Let's check out this 2-minute trailer video of a BC documentary about food waste solutions from farm to table, featuring one Green Key certified hotel, the GW Marriott Park, Vancouver as well. So I'm gonna share a 2-minute video about it.
It's really hard to read about climate change all the time and not feel really discouraged.
Wildfires, rising sea levels, flooding. What can we do individually?
There is so much food produced that ends up in landfill that we are having a direct impact on our climate. It does not make sense that we are not connecting these dots.
The amount of food waste in Canada is estimated to be something on the order of $49 billion a year. Over a third of the food that we produce never gets eaten.
We actually waste more food than we consume. And this is a really simple solution that everyone can participate in.
BC is a hotbed of innovation. BC and Ontario lead the country in innovative ways to reduce waste.
It's all connected, everything is connected, and it's all connected through these decisions and choices that we're making across the entire network.
We're all finding our common goal and our love for the passion of fighting food waste together.
I think such an important thing for people to remember when it comes to their involvement is that they are involved.
People don't know how to fight food waste, and they want to know.
All right, so this was just to share with you like why food waste is an important issue, and I'm sure you heard like how much money is avoidable food waste worth in Canada. We are talking about $49 billion per year, so it's very impressive, and it's a great opportunity to reduce food costs for sure. So now we're going to share more like concrete examples of 7 food sustainability trends in the hospitality industry. So let's dive in. So trend number 1 is buy sustainable ingredients. So especially if you're like in a fine dining environment, this is very important for your customers. So like having sustainable seafood, which are like ocean-wise, or having more, if you can, like local and organic produce is also something that that is a quick win that is directly recognized by your guests. Trend number 2 is offer plant-rich options. So there is definitely a huge trend in terms of like having more plant-based food and having a mark of like the V that you can see on the menu is something that can really help your guests identifying those options on the menu and having a green note as well. So that's something that is very helpful. A third trend is to increase customization. because like plate waste can represent 30 to 70% of a total restaurant food waste. So being able to give to your customers what they really want and having this level of customization is something that has been here implemented by the Parkside Hotel and Spa, but it can be really seen as different addition that you pay only from what you want, or it can also be sometimes with different size of plates to be able to provide to your guests what they really want and increase their satisfaction. Trend number 4 is share a zero waste recipe. So this is what has been done by the Fairmont Pacific Rim, for example, where they have like a dedicated section on their website about minimizing food waste at Fairmont Pacific Rim. And they share one of their zero waste recipe, which is a Pacific Rim mojito. And it's a great way to show that you can maximize the yields in your operation, but also to engage and inspire your guests. And it's definitely something that makes it unique. And in terms of competitive advantage, that's really, really an added value. Trend number 5 is to like get some data around that and to conduct food waste audits to really identify why food waste is happening, where is it happening, when is it happening, to take decision based on data and not based on, I think I have a good food cost percentage, so I'm fine. Because what we've seen is that even with a good food cost percentage, you can still have a lot of food waste. And so you can still increase your margin even further. So that's really important to really having an understanding, and this could be done for like a few days just for you to understand, or ideally it should be like an ongoing process that you really like track this by yourself. Trend number 6 is donate surplus food. So of course you will never be able to like prevent all food waste to happen. There is always food surplus in a food and beverage operation. But this is something like an impact that the GW Marriott in Vancouver has been working with the Vancouver food runners, and they've been saving a significant amount of food to be donated to people in need. So that's also a great way to share the social impact you're having as a hotel. And as I mentioned, like, of course, this is not where you're gonna like increase your profitability per se, but that's an additional way to have an impact. And just to give you an estimation, it's approximately 66% of food waste that is happening in the industry that is avoidable. So you will always have food waste to manage in the end, but the key here is to be able to reduce that food waste to be managed. And last one is to get your restaurant kind of certified for like a sustainable food certification program. So on the left here, you see like the Michelin stars, which just arrived in Vancouver recently. And they have 4 stars, which is a sustainable gastronomy. So it's a green star. Which is a very special recognition in terms of sustainable gastronomy. It doesn't only cover food waste, it's more broad, and the criteria is not as set because it has to be like a hidden expert who is trying at your restaurant and trying to see what is your level of sustainable gastronomy. So this is a great recognition, but harder to get. On the right-hand side, you can see another certification related to food. It's called the Pledge on Food Waste, which has been implemented by some Hyatt locations. And so the Pledge on Food Waste, it's a certification program solely focused on food waste with 95 criteria. And so with 4 different levels of certification too. So that's it's kind of the equivalent of the Michelin stars, but for food waste specifically. So here are 7 food trends that we are seeing in the industry. And now we would like to share with you how to achieve a triple bottom line with food waste prevention. So first, what is a triple bottom line? I'm sure some people doing in this webinar are already familiar with this concept, but just to make sure, I'm gonna share that basically a triple bottom line is having a positive impact on your direct bottom line, so financially, and on your environmental and social impact at the same time. So really find it as a way to cut costs and increase profitability, cut your CO2 emissions, because the carbon footprint of food waste is very significant, and usually it's not taken into account into direct scope 1 and 2 GHG emissions. And we can help you quantify this carbon footprint from food waste if that's helpful. And of course, if you're doing a food donation program, being able to track that and to share that to your shareholders or your stakeholders more broadly. So quick question for you. Do you imagine your food and beverage operation that you are the most familiar with? Do you have more plate waste or more kitchen waste? If you're not able to answer that question right away, that's an issue. And so really, and because you're going to take very different measures and actions that you're going to be implementing if you have more plate waste or more kitchen waste. And what we've seen is, like, as I mentioned earlier, plate waste can represent 30 to 70% of a total restaurant food waste. So if you're at 30% or 70%, it's going to be completely different actions that you're going to have to implement. Here's an example of a case study with like 8 Hyatt properties that have been using the Food Intel Tech, which is a technology that we are leveraging as well, developed by Lightblue. And so it's a great way to really track food waste quickly and to answer the question of why food waste is happening, where is it happening, when is it happening, and you can really get some results pretty quickly once you know where the biggest opportunity are. And on top of it, I mean, on top of the money saving that everybody is happy to have, it's also a great way to share, to have an additional story to add to your sustainability story. And just a bit more detail on the app Food Intel Tech that we leverage. It's very easy. In 5 clicks, you do the recording. You select your outlet, because most hotels have different restaurant and food and beverage operations. You select your shift, what kind of category of food waste, if it's spoilage, preparation waste, buffer waste, or plate waste. And if you want, you can go into further details, such as in the kitchen, is it mainly meat or mainly vegetable? So that's an option. And then you record like this data, and you get weekly emails that are being sent to you once a week, with like what's your performance during that week, how much savings have you achieved, and it's really easy to implement. Like, it's unlike other food waste solutions, food waste monitoring technology on the market. This one doesn't need to buy like a hardware, so you just need a tablet and a scale, and you can get started. But you can even do that manually, but technology of course helps to get more insights. And really the key message here is like food waste prevention and tracking food waste and implementing like actions to help you control that food cost and food waste is really having a direct impact on your profit, because food waste accounts for approximately 7% of food and beverage revenues. It's actually sometimes more than the profit margin. So this is really key if you want your food and beverage to be profitable. to really work on this issue. So that were some examples on how you can achieve a triple bottom line. And I would like to share some resources and next steps if you wanted to dig further and to keep learning, because this is like a learning journey. And like even myself being a food waste expert, like I'm keep learning all the time. And there's so many ways to be creative with the food you're buying and to make the most of it. But I'm going to give you two main resources. So the first resources on bettertable.ca/ebook is our guide, why food waste prevention should be your top sustainability initiatives, sharing more details and key facts and key actions, including our free calculator, which is an online tool to help you assess how much you could save in your operation. So based on the data that that are relevant to you. So that's a really helpful resources, more tailored to hospitality leaders like you. And can be read very quickly. Another resources that I would like to point is our Better Table Academy, which is available on bettertable.ca/academy. And so that's a free hospitality food waste prevention training, which is divided into 5 modules, like what's the impact on your bottom line, what to track in terms of KPIs, how to reduce kitchen waste, how to reduce plate waste, and how to implement an efficient roadmap in your hotel. So yeah, this is more tailored to like food and beverage operations, so a little bit more operational. But highly recommend you to check this out because this is a great learning opportunity for your staff, and it's free. And here are just a few names that trust bettertable.ca. So yeah, working with destinations, hotels, and food and beverage operations, but also policymakers, because it's not about like if there will be regulation around food waste. It's like what type of regulation and how fast. And from seeing and being involved in different groups as well, like this is going to come faster than many think. So I hope you find this presentation helpful. If there are any questions, I will of course answer them during the webinar, but please feel free to reach out. My email is here, ben@bettertable.ca. And I thank you so much for joining us and celebrating Stop Food Waste Day together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. As you mentioned, if there's any questions, don't hesitate to pop them in the chat now or send them directly to him or to me, and I can forward them over to him. So as mentioned, today's webinar is recorded, so they'll be available on demand on the website, and all the links and resources shared with us today will also be shared. A huge thank you to Ben for taking the time to join us today, and I hope this presentation answered any questions that you might have on food waste in your hotel and brought some helpful information to you. And I hope that you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.